What's up guys, welcome back for another Yugioh Pro Duel video. Monarchs in the new TCG format. We got one Aether back, so Aether at 2. Sadly Pantheism is still at 1. Kinda strange, right? As you know, in the OCG, this deck, Monarchs, Mega Monarchs, is basically at full force with triple Pantheism, triple Stormfort, triple Aether, etc. But the deck isn't really doing anything over there. Again, quite of an interesting thought, right? What if Konami TCG decides to give all of these cards back? So anyway, it might happen, right, with Aether on the potential next ban list. Anyway, so yeah, sadly Pantheism is still at 1. This is currently my list. 2 options though. You go for the extra deck variant, which I personally prefer. It's a bit more fun. But then again, competitively speaking, the domain version feels a little bit superior. Very straightforward, right? Getting domain on the field, protected with your triple solemn judgment. A bit iffy though. You want to main deck triple judgment, maybe side deck if you definitely go first, you know, it's scolding in the old school days before this format, right? But again, it's a bit iffy. Draw cards, maybe like Allure of Darkness. In the extra deck variant, you can play Pot of Extravagance. So all are definitely options. I'd like the tribute lineup being 11 in extra deck variant, or in the extra deck variant, that's exactly 10 without the Mega Testalos. But for me, triple Vanity's Fiend and that one-off Majesty's Fiend for me is stable in basically any Monarch deck, right? The Mithra, I guess it's fine. Personally, I like it a little bit less compared to the good old Idea and Eidos combination, but again, it's a very good card to bypass your opponent's hand traps, I guess. So, as a domain player, domain Monarchs definitely want to go first. You want to go first, and okay, well, it gives you, of course, the most chance to win the duel, I guess, of setting up your domain. Again, the tribute domain, that's all you need. And best case scenario, that's like Erebus, so your opponent is one card behind as well. Or, well, you know, Vanity's Fiend as well prevents the special summons from the opponent with domain. So domain completely blocks your opponent from the extra deck unless they have a tribute summon monster on their own. And again, Salamangreat, that's not really happening, I guess. Although they do have a couple of options to shut down the domain lock, as in what's it called? Salamangreat's Rage. Rage is one of those which can be indirectly searched with Gazelle, indeed, you know, Foolish Burial and get it back or something like that. And the Crackdown, you know, Manhunt, the quote-unquote Snatch Steal Trap-alike card that gain control, right, from the opponent's tribute summoned monster. So those are definitely options if they are main decked, that is. Same for Twin Twister. Again, early format, so it's not really sure people would main deck Twin Twister or Galaxy Cyclone. It might, because of Mystic Mine, right? Let's not forget, Mystic Mine is still viable. So again, yeah, this is my duel, right? The opponent in his opening 5/6 cards, you know, with Erebus 5 cards, if they don't have an option or out to either prevent your tribute summon or, well, your normal summon from going through and eventually out the tribute monster with domain, it's game. Really, hardly any deck can come back after that, especially if they are super special summon oriented. Otherwise, you know, they're like a bunch of weak or lower level monsters like Salamangreats, like Crusadia, and so on. I opt to run one Foolish Burial of Goods. It's basically an extra Pantheism in some way. Well, it just basically tutors your Pantheism of sending it directly from your deck to the graveyard, and then after that you can just get it back with Idea and, you know, eventually use it further in the duel. So I like the one of Foolish Burial of Goods. One is enough. You don't want to draw multiples, and if you happen to draw into Pantheism first or search it first with Tenacity, there is, yeah, Foolish Burial of Goods can still send your Prime Monarch, your trap card from your deck, to the graveyard. Only double Prime in the extra deck variant. I'm definitely main decking 3 of the Prime Monarch being the trap. But in domain variants, again, consistency. Pantheism is not a 3, so they might be like an extra brick in your hand, and that's why I opt to play 2, even though the Prime Monarch is very crucial in like the grind game. But let's face it, in today's format, 2019 Yu-Gi-Oh!, the grind game, especially for a tier lower than tier 1 Monarchs, it's hit or miss, right? You want to finish it off as quickly as possible with something like Vanity's Fiend, prevent your opponent from playing the game, and, you know, beat your opponent to death, I guess. So getting some extra summons here, going for the Vanity's Fiend, indeed, all good. So yeah, the return as well, double Aether, making sure you have the Aether in hand, Tenacity in hand, no Stormfort, but with the domain lock, setting the Stormfort or having access to Stormfort during your opponent's turn, it's not that crucial. If you can't work towards it, just get up domain. That's so much more crucial in today's format rather than, you know, Stormfort Aether, right? Sounds strange, but getting out of domain lock is again, well, sounds strange. It's logical, I think. Again, just put up domain, play like an a-hole. You know what I mean. It's a very simple and straightforward deck. Quite budget, I guess, as well, since you don't need an extra deck. The Monarchs structure deck is there, and a couple of extra additions here to the main deck with Vanity's Fiend, Majesty's Fiend as well. But yeah, it's a very straightforward deck, very simple deck, but it's something to piss off your opponent, I guess. So Solemn Judgment, yeah, okay, half of your life points, and now the other two Monarchs can just attack for game. So I do main deck Solemn Judgment, as I mentioned previously. You know, in the old, or the days before this, Monarchs tended to play like Scolding main and or side deck, definitely side deck, right? To prevent the Twin Twister or Galaxy Cyclone, you know, two cards that your opponent wants to maybe main deck against something like Mystic Mind. So I might want to main deck Triple Judgments, but the debate is open, I guess, to just put them in the side deck for maybe draw cards, Allure of Darkness. I'm definitely not 3 Allure, maybe 1 or 2. 3 is definitely too much. You won't, or at least you don't want to open with multiple Allures, like activate Allure and banish your one of Erebus. What are you going to do after that? So most of the time that was my situation. Escalation is also one of those cards that I always add in. Okay, if the opponent has like the Ash Blossom on my idea, I can just set Escalation and Tribute Summon for Vanity's Fiend during the opponent's turn, but that never works, like never, just unbelievable, that never works. Escalation, you either, if you need it, you won't draw it, you don't draw it, and you can't search it out. And if you don't need it, you open with it, and it's basically a brick card, like the 3rd Prime. So, personally for me, I'm not a huge Escalation fan, but I guess it's something you can definitely main deck as a, well, follow-up play, an easy follow-up play during your opponent's turn, Vanity's Fiend during their turn as a potential follow-up play. That can definitely work, but for me, it's a bit of an iffy card. So he does have a Tribute Summon monster here, being the Dark Thunder Dragon. I should have summoned that, probably. So now he's able to drop Leviathan here, so here I'm definitely forced to Judgment that. Can't let him destroy the domain and build up his field even more. But yeah, he definitely needed the Leviathan here. So no Tribute Summon monster on his side of the field, and now I can just end the game, right, with Aether. The extra Tribute Summon here, or yeah, the extra beat stick on the field, using the, yeah, indeed, extra Tribute Summon to go for Majesty's Fiend, and this should lock up the duel. More than enough attack to attack for game, right? So another example here against, let me think, that's Orgust, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So Pantheas immediately forces out the Ash Blossom. Of course, yeah, hand traps is this deck's biggest pain, especially, of course, going first. Well, every deck loses to hand traps, but I mean, there are decks that are much more weaker, and if your opponent has that one-off hand trap, you might lose the game compared to, let's say, Crusadia that can play around like 2 or 3 hand traps. But even though, okay, you can definitely play around the hand traps using Prime or something like that, and not waste or use your normal summon for ED or ADOS if you expect the potential Ash Blossom, you know, or Ghost Ogre, depending on which one. Much more important is to get the Erebus or Aether off, set up the Prime, and then you can go after that, right? You're set up, you have the Prime in your graveyard for defense and follow-up plays. Vanity's Fiend on the field again, very easy game, just drop it, and kind of hope your opponent does not have the option, you know, Dark Hole is at 3, but not sure if there are any decks that would main deck, or, well, side deck, I guess, multiple Dark Holes, Kaijus, but yeah, Kaijus cannot be dropped with the Vanity's Fiend, so Vanity's Fiend is definitely one of those MVPs of this deck. Just drop it first turn, let your opponent deal with it, and there are multiple decks that can't get rid of it, but let's face it, there are still a lot of outs to, well, kinda either destroy Vanity's Fiend or negate the effect, right? Monster effect negation, so it's a bit iffy, but Domain Monarch is a very budget-oriented deck. Well, it's not, well, it's a fun deck, I guess, but I personally prefer the extra deck variant a bit more, but competitively speaking, again, Domain is the version to go. Again, very easy, prevent your opponent from playing the game. So again, like always, feel free to leave feedback, and yeah, thanks for watching, and feel free to leave a comment or a like. if you enjoyed the video. Lithium is signing out. Peace.